Springbok fans are among the most passionate in the world. No one can dispute this. French rugby fans are also incredibly tribal. And in this episode, you are going to get a front row seat as I explain the differing worldviews and reveal why there is tension between the two sets of fans, when actually, as you'll see, there need not be. Okay, so firstly, where does this all come from? Antoine Dupont, of course. There's a clear media-driven agenda to promote Dupont, which I don't have a problem with. Let me explain why. I think it's good when you have one or several players who can be the face of your sport. In football, you got Messi, Ronaldo, Mbappe, Neymar, etc., etc. In tennis, Djokovic, Nadal, Federer, I know that two of those three have already retired, but you get the point. The Williams sisters, Steffi Graf, and so on and so forth. Formula One, you had Michael Schumacher, Lewis Hamilton currently, and you get the point. My issue is the manner in which he is hyped. Overhyped, I would say. South African rugby fans have taken great issue with this. There's been this declaration that Dupont is the greatest of all time. Springbok supporters have felt insulted by this. Have they even seen Pieter-Steph du Toit, Irvin Etzebeth, Victor Matfield, Dani Gerber? The list goes on. French fans, understandably, are protective of their assets. Why wouldn't they be? Their questions might be, why are South Africans so insular? Why can SAFAs not accept that another country can produce a great player? Why are they so arrogant? These are all fair questions. And I'm happy to tell you today, guys, that we do not have to be angry with our French friends. And to any French fan watching this, you can cool the heat on South Africa too. Instead, I'm happy to tell you, we have a common enemy: England. More specifically, the English press. That's right, the English press. Sometimes Welsh and Irish too, I might add. But they are the ones who have hyped Dupont up. They are the ones who have proclaimed him to be the GOAT, the greatest of all time. I have been told reliably that within France, most French fans don't actually speak of Dupont as the GOAT or greatest of all time. They just speak of him as a great rugby player that they currently have, in the same way that we speak of Pieter-Steph du Toit or Irvin Etzebeth as a great rugby player that we currently have. They are the ones who don't want to acknowledge anyone or anything else, the English press that is. They are the ones who have got us all riled up. I was watching the Six Nations match the other day between England and France. The matchday presenter announced that the crowd that had sold out Twickenham were there to watch Antoine Dupont. That's odd. I would have thought that they were there to cheer on England, their team, in the hope of an upset victory. An upset victory they managed to achieve. Dupont committed a handling error in the first half. What did the commentator say? He probably hasn't made that mistake since he was 5. And I understand the humour behind it. But we also know that there's an agenda taking place here. In the second half, Nolan Le Garrec came on and Dupont moved to fly half. Again, the commentator marvelled at Dupont's ability to play in multiple positions. Yeah, Tennis Delport also played in multiple positions. Abdelatif Benazi played in multiple positions. Can you see why this is irritating? Now let me be very clear. I believe Dupont is a gifted rugby player. If I were to select a World 15 right now, he would be my scrum half. I, like many other South African fans, just don't think he is the greatest rugby player of all time. Personally, my favourite French rugby player of all time is Laurent Caban. But this is where Springbok fans and French rugby fans have been talking past one another, in my opinion. Our contention is that Dupont has only ever played 2 matches in the Southern Hemisphere, and one of those was as a substitute. We would like to see him, love to see him, come to our country with a full-strength France team and go toe-to-toe with the Springboks in our own backyard. We've beaten you in Paris, now let's see if you can beat us in Cape Town, Johannesburg, etc. All Blacks fans would feel the same way. France famously won a series there in 1994. Why not attempt to do it again? Sadly, it won't happen. Let me explain why. In the French rugby system, the National Federation and the top 14 organisation are separate entities. There exists a system of cooperation. Of course, there is a tremendous amount of money involved. The French top 14 is the richest league in the world. It's also the best domestic competition in world rugby, and that's important. The top 14 runs into June. They're not interested in releasing players for national team duty in the July test window. And so as a result, Dupont, Romain Ntamak, Damien Penaud, Thomas Ramos, Gregory Aldrit, Winnie Antonio, Francois Cour, and the rest of the French stars are not going to see action in July in the Southern Hemisphere. It's a tremendous shame from our point of view, but it is what it is. Now, I mentioned that the top 14 is the strongest domestic competition in the world, and as a result, quite rightly, French fans put an incredible amount of importance on what a player does for his club. This is why, when a Springbok fan, for example, questions Dupont's ability to influence a Rugby World Cup quarter-final, a French fan might typically retort with how Dupont ripped the Sharks apart in the Champions Cup playing for Toulouse. To the French, what Dupont does for Toulouse is often of equal importance and in some cases of even greater significance in comparison to what he does for the national team. This is something that for a Springbok supporter is very difficult to understand. I readily admit, to me, it makes no sense. So I'm a Stormers supporter. I love Ivan Roos. He's currently my favourite Stormers player. And I accept that about a year ago he was probably second only to Jasper Visser in terms of the Springboks, and right now he may have slipped to fourth, even fifth in line. And I hope that he'll come back, because I think there's so much potential there and there's so much to like. But as much as I enjoy seeing Roos perform for the Stormers, I'm far more interested in what he does when he wears green and gold. For context, a French fan might hold the Rugby World Cup as the most important competition, followed by the Six Nations. After that, he's looking at the Champions Cup and top 14 for prestige. Sometimes the other way around, top 14 and then Champions Cup. The July tests and autumn internationals are of hardly any importance, if any. Contrastingly, a Springbok supporter would say the Rugby World Cup, then probably the Rugby Championship or British and Irish Lions series, and then say the July and November tests are also very important, especially if it's against France, Ireland or England. And with the resumption of tours between SA and New Zealand starting next year, I would say that that will become second in importance only to the World Cup for us. I hope I've laid this out in an easy to understand manner, even if to a South African fan this doesn't necessarily make the most sense. What do you think? Let me know what your take is on the way that South African fans and French fans view rugby. I'm really of the opinion, and one of the reasons why I wanted to do this episode was to try and explain to each set of fans how the opposing set of supporters sees world rugby, how we look at it, what our views are, how we judge the strengths and weaknesses of players and teams, and that we might realize that actually it's just a different way of looking at things, and that actually South Africa and France have always been friends, and there's no need for us to be antagonistic towards each other. It's far more fun to target a common enemy, like England or New Zealand. Neither of us like the All Blacks either. Now, let me know in the comment section down below. And while you're down there, you can also click on the Super Thanks button. That's the heart button with a $sign inside of it. It'll give you the opportunity to make a highlighted comment on my channel. I will also click the heart button and I promise to reply to it. And it'll give you the opportunity to make a donation to my channel. Guys, I want to do this full time. I would love to go to Australia in 2027 and cover the Rugby World Cup for you from down under with daily content. And you can help me by clicking on the Super Thanks and making a small donation. It starts from as little as $1. It goes all the way up to whatever you want it to be. So if you want to give me $100,000, hey, I'm not going to complain. If you're not yet ready to support me in that manner, you can also click on the like button. You could also just crock roll that like button. Why not? Subscribe to the channel as well if you haven't already done so. Now, James Small was a man that French fans should be familiar with. He scored quite a few tries against them, and there's an exciting new biography coming out all about James's life. You can win that, and to find out how, watch this video. It's appearing on your screen right now. And I also did a video about Antoine Dupont. Of course I did, asking the question whether or not he really is the greatest of all time. For a bit of fun, why not go check that one out? It's over there. And I will see you next time.